Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and right now Bill de Blasio is live instructing what the next steps on New York City are. We are about 10 minutes behind that broadcast, and we're going to go to it in a moment. What I need you to do is thumbs this video up and whatever information he is sharing with you right now, and we go over. You need to share with your loved ones, your friends, your families to get them out of New York City, because I can tell you this. The way it started off was not great. The first lines out of his mouth are not the best ones. And I'm not trying to instill fear in anybody. But if you're not taking this seriously on the angle that the military is on the way and that quarantines and lockdowns and containment zones have already been decided, I'm sorry, you're blind to what is in front of your face. So here we go, guys. Let's do it.
We're all getting used to this. We're all trying to make sense of it. I just want to say, my fellow New Yorkers, anyone out there who's scared, anyone who is confused, anyone who feels like we're dealing with something we never dealt with in our lives, you're right. This is, in many ways, the great unknown. But I'm also confident we can get through it, and I'm going to talk about that in a moment. I'm confident we can overcome it. In fact, my confidence in New Yorkers, my confidence in all of the organizations in the city, the hospitals, the healthcare providers, my confidence in the working people in New York City, and my confidence in our government couldn't be stronger. I'm going to talk honestly and bluntly about what we need from our federal government and how crucial that is in the equation. The City of New York is working constantly to protect our people. I know the state of New York is doing the same thing, and we are coordinated and share goals and strategies, but we all are waiting for federal help that still is not arriving. And that is the central challenge, and we have to talk bluntly about that, and I will today. But to everyone who's dealing with this confusion and these challenges, I feel it, my family feels it just like you. We're all trying to make sense of a new reality.
I want to just pause it right there.
What I'm going to...
A new reality. You see how you're being prepped. World War II, wartime, new reality. Listen, I'm not Nostradamus. I've been off on some days. But overall, my predictions, unfortunately, keep coming true. That does not make me happy. This makes me very upset. I'm not here to tell you what to do, but you shouldn't be here denying what's right in front of your face. So let's continue with what's happening right now.
Try and do every time I give you an update is tell you the blunt truth. And I'm trying to do very hard to make sure I tell you what we exactly know. And when we're not sure about something, we need to be clear about that too. It would be a mistake to tell you something certain if we're not certain. It would be a mistake to hold back things that you need to know. And it certainly would be a mistake to sugarcoat this very, very painful reality. I think New Yorkers want real talk. I think New Yorkers like it straight, and we're going to do that. So I'll be talking about several things today that are really painful and troubling. And I want everyone to understand that. I am not here to give you false reassurance. I have a lot of things I'll say that should cause you to be confident about what we can do in this city. Confident particularly in the fact that we have the finest healthcare institutions, the finest doctors and nurses, and all the people who work in our healthcare facilities, the lab techs, everyone who works in our facilities. There's literally no place on earth with a stronger and better healthcare sector than New York City. Nowhere on earth. And we are going to ask of our colleagues in healthcare so much in these coming weeks. They are already heroes, but they're going to have to work in battlefield conditions. Their strength, their courage, their resilience are all going to be needed. We're all going to be depending on them, just like we depend every day, not only on their work, but on our first responders and so many of our public servants.
By the way, earlier today, when you saw, people like Trump talking in these FEMA meetings, etc., 9/11, the Depression, wartime, all this is to ramp you up for what is coming. And again, I didn't want to be right. You can go watch, and this will become a part of it, my Corona journey. And basically from where I started in January reporting on this, mostly in walk and talks, to where we are today, I'm shocked. I'm as shocked as anybody else. I just prepared myself. And I suggest you do the same for you and your family. You know, I don't think anybody is ready for what's to come because we shouldn't be. We shouldn't be acclimated to what is about to go down in our country at all. That's not a good thing. But we should be prepared. Thumbs this video up, subscribe, share, tell your family what is happening.
Everyone is going to be needed. Everyone needs to answer the call. Everyone needs to step up for the good of everyone else. But despite my tremendous confidence in our people and our ability to serve them, I also have to be very clear about the extent of this crisis. It is unlike anything we have seen outside of wartime, with the possible exception of the Great Depression itself. We can make obvious and powerful, painful parallels even to things like 9/11, the days and weeks after that. But this crisis is even more unknown in many ways because we don't understand the exact trajectory we're on.
So let's stop it right there. Does anybody not get why I've been talking about this as 1929 meets 9/11 and a slow rollout? And James Corbett was right that it is 1929 meets 1984 because the loss of truth and freedom and an invisible enemy is just as important as putting it in that equation with 9/11 as well. So, I mean, guys, if you don't understand this is basically a script at this point, that this is WWE wrestling, that decisions haven't already been made, you're not following me on Twitter, you're not seeing the documents that I'm publishing, that I'm getting leaked to me, that people are giving me. You know, I want everybody to be very clear. None of these documents have anything to do with the deadliness of the virus at all. That is not what I've been trying to warn people about. I think people are very confused about that. And a lot of people are playing mental tricks with themselves to believe that this isn't actually happening. No, this is. It is a slow rollout. And again, I may not be right on all the dates or how it's locked down, right? But, you know, right now, Cuomo, what does he want? He wants New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and Connecticut to be locked down. That's what we're looking at.
And we know it will reach very deep into our communities. That is not a reason to be hopeless by any stretch, because remember, every single piece of evidence we have continues to tell us that this is a disease that for 80% of those infected will have very little impact.
Not a disease, it's a virus.
So I want people to think about this. I'll tell you a lot of things that are tough and sobering, but I want you also to remember this side of the equation. There will be many New Yorkers who never get this disease, and there will be many New Yorkers who get this disease, approximately 80% who get it, and will feel very little and experience very little. But those 20% who experience a much tougher time with this disease, people in particular who are older, and that means particularly folks over 50 and especially over 70, and it means those, of course, with those serious pre-existing conditions we talk about so often, lung disease, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, and compromised immune system. For those people, particularly if they're over 50, we're worried.
Well, let's stop particularly over 50. Let's cut the bullshit. If you look at that kid in the UK, he was 20 years old. He had undiagnosed leukemia. He went in twice and got antibiotics. So again, to think that young people aren't going to get touched by this, maybe not as deeply as old people, but, you know, I haven't been tested for cancer. How many of you have? I know I look young. I'm 40 years old. My friend hadn't been tested. He's 39. Well, he got some grim realities, and it's breaking my heart. Supposedly, they moved his surgery up to tomorrow, and I pray he gets it. And I'm praying for you, James, because I love you. I just want to say that right now. But the point being is, global, transformative, human event. To say otherwise would be just ridiculous. It would be ridiculous. Look at what this man's telling you. And again, they've treated you like children all along, throughout the whole thing. So let's continue on.
And we need them to take extraordinary measures. We need you to take extraordinary measures. If you're in that category of people, we need you to live differently. And we need your families to adjust as well. You're going to hear from Dr. Barbeau in a few minutes, and she's going to talk to you as the city's doctor and give advice directly to New Yorkers in light of an ever-growing crisis. But I heard from a friend in Brooklyn from the Midwood community just yesterday, and he said something I thought really captured it. He said, in a very tight-knit, extended family, over decades and decades, it would have been unimaginable to keep his older parents away from their grandchildren. Well, he said now he understands because of coronavirus that his older parents who have vulnerabilities of their own, they have to understand this is not the time to visit with their grandchildren because we just can't run that risk. It's time for getting on the phone to your loved ones. It's time for getting on FaceTime, but it's time to make adjustments that wouldn't have been imaginable in other situations because we've never dealt with this situation before.
Let's just stop something for a minute because, you know, when we talk about old folks, we would be remiss to not talk about the slow rollout and how they announced that people would not be able to visit assisted living facilities, first in New York, and then they rolled it out nationally. Well, off of Chestnut Street in Oneonta, I now have confirmation that 2 people have these symptoms, whatever. And again, I'm not telling you how lethal this is. I'm telling you that they've locked down the north wing of that place. They tested negative for the flu, and they are now testing them for COVID-19. So all these people also that are saying that, you know, nobody they know actually has this or nobody. Listen, I live in a town amongst health workers. Fox Hospital, Bassett, lots of assisted living facilities. I'm getting stuff constantly. We have biomedical tents outside. This man told you that he talked to the Joint Chiefs of Staff already. Cuomo is openly telling you the Army Corps of Engineers are coming to retrofit SUNY dorms. It is time to get out of a state of denial and see that this has been mobilized. This is real. This is going to touch your life in some way. You haven't even seen the economic things start to really unravel yet because we're just seeing the first signs of these bank runs. Remember, they put it in place that they could stop the stock market. Now nobody's on the floor of the stock market and everybody's trading online. How much further? And he keeps talking about 9/11. What happened post 9/11? They shut down the stock market completely. Okay? And he's telling you it's going to be worse than that.
It is literally unlike anything we have seen in our memory. It will not be the same as the 1918 flu epidemic because, for one thing, the healthcare capacity of this city and this nation are tremendously better. Public health ability, the information flow, it's night and day compared to 100 years ago. But in terms of the extent, that's the only other parallel we can make in terms of recent healthcare history. It's going to be an epidemic, a pandemic that reaches deep into our communities. We got to be honest about that. We got to make more changes in the way we live, and we got to do things we wouldn't normally do. I also want to emphasize this is a crisis that has an end point. As I said, it will play out in unpredictable ways, and it'll play out for a period of time, and that's what makes it different from some other things we've been through. It will go on for months, but it will not go on forever. At some point in the coming months, this crisis will start to abate.
Coming months.
And we'll be able to start the work of getting our lives back to normal and getting our city back to all the things about it that we love so much. But it will be months, so it will be a long battle. I don't think it serves anyone to be told, get ready for something easy. I think it is much better to tell people, get ready for something difficult and something that will go on for a long time, but also have confidence that we can get through it. And that's what I truly believe. The numbers I'll go over with you today are nothing short of staggering, but they are not just numbers. I'll tell you statistics that I have trouble even conceiving of myself. But I don't want you to think of them as statistics. I want you to think of them as your fellow New Yorkers. Every number means another person has been affected by this disease, another family, and that's what I feel. We're watching a crisis that is really, really affecting the lives of our people and putting a lot of people in danger. So I'll tell you the honest truth, and I'll go out of my way in the weeks ahead to always level with you, but I'll also tell you what we can do, and that's a lot.
Let's just stop. Again, De Blasio knows what's happening. He knows what the timeline really is. When they talk about shelter in place as a soft thing, it'll probably be the kind of enforcement you're kind of seeing in New Jersey, at least for a day or two, depending on how quickly they can mobilize the military and the police to kind of work with one another. Okay? And this is going to be your papers, please, or you're going to have to be walking your dog. They're talking about exercise. We'll see how long or far that goes. Okay, though these are huge, huge, huge apartment buildings. And remember, you're going to want your immune system up and vitamin D and sunlight, and you're going to want human interaction, but that's not what's going to happen. This could make this a lot worse. In fact, I was rewatching some of my early stuff on this, and you look at leprosy and how that was handled and how quarantines really hurt by doing that. But again, this has already been decided. It's about to be rolled out. Here he's going to be talking about numbers that are further, again, just kind of letting you know the situation's only getting worse and the military response will be real. Doesn't matter what you think about the virus. All you people talking about virus hoax and this and that, and theories and germ theories, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. This guy is letting you know what's about to happen.
And I will be very honest about what we need our federal government to do, because I have to be clear with you. We alone, even if we're the greatest city in the world, and we alone cannot solve this crisis. And I need people to hear that, not to create fear, but to level with people. In the next few weeks, with the extraordinary resources of New York City, we will fight this battle no matter what. But as we get into April, the farther we get into April, the more we will need the help of the federal government. It must arrive in time, and there is time for that help to arrive. But the federal government does not do all in its power immediately. It's as simple as this. There will be a lot more people who get sick who didn't need to get sick, and there will be people who die who didn't need to die. It's as simple as that.
So let me just stop it here. Again, prepping you for the retrofitting of buildings, of SUNY dorms. Remember, this is happening at Stony Brook right now, over on Long Island. You're going to see more and more of this. And remember that FEMA has been activated everywhere. Emergency operating centers are in every state. We're in that level 1. I mean, we're in this, whether you want to believe it or not. Their response is going to be a military one on many, many levels. And work is done. When I was telling people most people aren't going to have a job in 2-3 weeks anyway, that wasn't fun. I don't like that. That wasn't cool. I get it. But it was reality.
So we need to act now. And I know our federal government has the capacity. We have the finest military in the world, the largest by far, extraordinary resources, unlike the city or the state. And I always say it very bluntly, the federal government literally prints money. They can create any credit line they want.
Do you see what he says? The federal government literally prints money. They can create any line they want. Do you not understand that is like Banana Republic wheelbarrow full of money talk? This is going to be some type of an economic reset where the predator class comes in and scoops up the infrastructure. 1929 meets 1984 meets 9/11.
To save the lives of Americans. But we are not seeing that, not even close at this point. So I'll go into some very specific information now, and then you'll hear from Dr. Barbeau, and then we'll open up to questions from the media. And we'll be doing all this remotely. It's the first time we're doing it. I want to just say to all my colleagues in the media, we'll try and get it right, but it may be a little difficult the first time, but please bear with us as we try and perfect this new system. This is something we'll be having to do for quite a while to keep everyone safe. I've given you a framework to think about this situation with, and I'll be updating you regularly. But again, it will not be all bad news. It often will be tough information to hear, but not all of it is bad, because in the middle of this fight, we have the extraordinary heart and soul and spirit of New Yorkers. And here's an example for you. Just on Tuesday, I put out a call to retired healthcare workers and those who work in private healthcare offices to come forward and join up to serve in the fight against coronavirus. I asked people who have already given so much of their lives to others to step forward and come out of retirement. I asked people who are earning a living and are not obligated to join public service. I asked them to join nonetheless in the name of all New Yorkers.
So let's just stop. Again, gearing you up for volunteer work. World War II, Great Depression, lifestyle changes. Look, they just rolled that boat up with 1,000 beds. If you don't understand what's happening here, that this is going to be the largest mobilization of not only the National Guard, but our military in this country ever. Once again, you're not listening to what they are actually saying to you. This is real.
That was Tuesday. Today, Thursday, as of today, 1,746 healthcare professionals have stepped forward to augment the ranks of those already serving at the front line in our hospitals and clinics. That's
you can hear the
all New
cracking
Yorkers
in his
should be
voice.
Very, very proud of, and I am certain those numbers will grow. This is going to be one of the most difficult moments in New York City history. I ask everyone who has healthcare training and who can help us to please step forward now. And anyone who's willing to volunteer, please go to nyc.gov/helpnownyc. nyc.gov/helpnownyc, HELPNOWNYC. I want to express my tremendous gratitude on behalf of 8.6 million New Yorkers to all of you who have come forward and are ready to serve to protect all of us. And what you are seeing from those retired healthcare workers and those private sector healthcare workers, you're seeing in many other ways the extraordinary efforts of our colleagues in our public hospitals and clinics and all those at the voluntary hospitals who are already doing so much, our first responders, the envy of the nation, all that they are doing to protect us.
You hear this? It's all propping up. Everybody, if you don't hear the wartime effort in his voice, if you don't hear him building up everybody, the first responders, our military is like no other. We have the best health workers in the world. We're going to band together. Sacrifices must be made. Great Depression, 9/11, unknown territory, hardest times ever. You know, they're filling it all in with that rah, we're going to do this thing. We're going to do this thing. But I got to tell you, folks, this thing is unpredictable in the sense of how dark it gets, where we go from here. And if you have the opportunity to protect your family outside of any city, let alone New York City, I believe, will be the worst place to be. Do so. Do so now if you still have the chance, please. Fat Boy says, way too many coincidences for this just to be a virus outbreak. Whatever it is, man, the military response is what I'm focusing on. And you know what? I watched one of my first walk and talk videos on that Corona Journey playlist. Watch what I have to say. It didn't age badly other than the fact I wasn't taking it seriously as I should have. I was taking it somewhat seriously, and especially the response seriously, but go watch that video. Go to Corona Journey playlist after this. Let's get back to de Blasio, because this is important. This is happening now. This press conference is still going on, folks.
Our social service workers who are helping people through all of the challenges they're confronting now. Our sanitation workers who are doing absolutely crucial work to keep this city clean while we encounter a healthcare crisis. On Monday, I talked about a very valiant, noble group of workers, school cleaners and custodians and food service workers who went to school to make sure kids had meals even though school was not in session. Those workers showed up at their posts to help our children have enough food to eat.
And just so everybody knows, this is already in my local community because the kids that are on the free lunch program are all getting emails on when and where to show up so their kids can eat. How do you think that's going down when all of this starts to escalate and the military is on the street and things are shut down? For instance, Vermont and Minnesota already made their grocery workers emergency responders or emergency workers. Do you get that? People are going to be deputized for things they've never been deputized for before.
I want to thank our school safety agents and food service managers, including members of Teamsters Local 237, who have answered the call, stood up to help our children and those families who need food. I want to thank our school crossing guards who have been protecting our children who went to get food. We're going to keep talking from now on about all those who are standing up, unafraid, willing to fight, willing to help others. And I say unafraid, that's not to say they're not human beings, they're not worried like the rest of us, but I say unafraid because they showed up, they stood up, they did the right thing to help others. And I thank all of you for that. Again, all I ask of our federal government is to be as good as the people of the United States of America. Look at these everyday New Yorkers that I've mentioned to you, and these are just the healthcare professionals and the public service workers who are all at their posts doing what is needed. There are thousands of stories every day of New Yorkers helping each other out. I've called on New Yorkers to help the people in your lives, your family, your neighbors, those you worship with, the folks who live on your block or in your building who might be disabled, might have a serious health condition, or seniors who can't get around so well, to help them out, help them with their groceries, help them get the medicines they need. We've been getting wonderful stories from all over the city.
Now, I want to stop this, guys. Think about how much filler and cheerleading this is. Pro wrestling. Filler, cheerleading, pro wrestling. And it sets up de Blasio as the good guy for his people, right? And it still sets up Trump as the good guy for his people, and then Cuomo somewhere in the middle. They all know the plan. New Rochelle is the choke point. That is an artificial containment zone, so the military can be deployed there first. Yep, they just restricted. So where this is leading, because my buddy is a little bit, oh, that's different. Yeah, that's right. They're releasing prisoners from Rikers, guys. That's happening. 40 prisoners just got released that are high risk.
New Yorkers stepping up, making things happen right there where the need is greatest. There's so many people helping each other right now. Again, I'm just asking our federal government to do its job, help all of us. And that's eventually going to be this whole country. It's New York City today, it's places like Seattle, but we certainly saw what happened in Westchester County, and we see other places developing around the country, but make no mistake, it'll eventually be everywhere.
You see, once again, slow rollout. De Blasio is telling you a lot of truth here, okay? He's right. It is going to be everywhere. Slow rollout. What happens in New York today, get ready, country, okay? Why are they releasing prisoners? Because there's been prison riots in other countries, and we have positive tests in some of these prisons. When somebody's doing 2 to 5 years in a prison, or even if they're not, do you think they're going to stay there and try to die, or do you think they're going to try to riot? At the same time, you know, is a guard going to want to be there for $15-20 an hour, a CO, around a bunch of people that think they're going to want to die? The panic hasn't even started. Everybody who thought I was a fearmonger and I was trying to, like, get subscribers or some bullshit, that's not why I'm here. Excuse my French. I know I haven't cursed yet, and that'll hopefully be the only time because this is serious. But no, I'm trying to warn you. I'm trying to warn your friends and family.
So our federal government needs to right now go where the need is greatest, and there is no place where the need is greatest than New York State and New York City. Mm-hmm. Of course, I am heartened that the Congress passed an initial relief bill. But initial is the key word. It is a small beginning. It's far from what we need. I never look a gift horse in the mouth, but I can say with assurance that the first step taken by the Congress is just a small first step, and we need a huge stimulus and relief bill immediately that puts money back in the pockets of people who have lost so much. helps local
Print
governments
money.
keep going and doing the work we do.
Print money.
And really responds to the reality
Print
on
money.
the ground, particularly in providing health care for so many
Print
people
money.
so quickly. Right now, the United States government is not even close to where it needs to be. But I do thank the House and the Senate for the action they took. I am very thankful to the United States military for sending the ship that we've all been waiting for, the USNS Comfort, which is a 1,000-bed floating hospital and will be crucial to our efforts in this city and state to protect people. The military, as I've said, I have no doubt in my mind, stands ready to do all necessary to help their fellow Americans. I just wish they would get the order, and they have not gotten that order. President Trump, I will only say to the president, I don't understand. And I think there are millions and tens of millions of Americans who don't understand what you are doing right now. You are not using the tools of your office. This is one of the greatest emergencies our nation has faced in generations.
You see this? This is the WWE part. They already know the plan is to go into New York City. All this has been classified. All right? But they have to have this fake battle back and forth. It's all this is. I'm sorry. I wish it were another way, but it's not. Dave Allen says, truck driver in Cali, trailer still loaded. I don't know how long it'll last. Are the Blue Hats going to be a part of all this? Will they patrol the streets? You know, again, the railway stations, I got that document where you could clearly see that there would be paperwork and identification that you would get at certain checkpoints. That's what it appears to be for me.
Every tool must be brought to bear. For some reason, you continue to hesitate. I said it not to be flip, but to note the historical parallel. President Trump, right now, you are the Herbert Hoover of your generation. You are watching and waiting and missing every chance to be bold and to act to protect our nation.
Pro wrestling.
Herbert Hoover's successor, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, determined that our nation needed urgent and immediate action and created the New Deal and transformed the effort to help our people and saved our country, literally.
Again, invoking what? Great Depression, 9/11, FDR, wartime, unprecedented. This is his language, guys. Read through all the nonsense.
And Trump is not doing that now for reasons that are absolutely inexplicable to the vast majority of us. But there's still time. Not much, but there's still time. The president yesterday invoked the Defense Production Act. I have no idea why the president waited until March 18th to invoke the Defense Production Act, which has been used repeatedly in recent decades. Seems to me, given what we knew about this crisis, given that the city of New York held its first press conference to announce our steps on coronavirus on January 24th, I think the president could have invoked the Defense Production Act in February or even January, but he's finally done it. And we know the history that authorization allows for massive actions by the federal government to ensure that companies are producing needed goods and that they get to
factory
where they're
takeovers
needed most. However, the president has not ordered any of those subsequent actions. And this must change immediately.
Now, let me stop you there. The president's already met with all these people. You know, with the Krogers, the Walmarts, Amazon. Remember Bezos and the Amazon change-up of what shipments are going to be coming in, essential goods and medical supplies. There's going to be great shifts. He's already seen. Again, de Blasio knows all this, but now he's circulating it to the public a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. It's a slow rollout. That's what this is.
Through the Defense Production Act, the president can authorize the Department of Health and Human Services to order manufacturers to provide materials and services and to use their private facilities for manufacturing needed items. That has not happened. We have not seen the order from the president ensuring maximum 24/7 production of all items needed by our healthcare industry. And I would say it very plainly, every factory in America that can be converted to healthcare production, to the equipment and supplies that our valiant healthcare professionals need, and they will need even more in the coming months, every such factory should be ordered on a full production basis on a level prioritized by the federal government. And then those goods must be distributed. And it cannot be distributed in a business as usual manner because, as I said, here in New York City, we are 2 weeks or 3 weeks away.
So let's stop. Two weeks or 3 weeks away. Let's go all the way back to taking over manufacturing plants. Now, number one, prior to this whole thing going wild, what should have been done was that the military should have taken over abandoned factories, ones that were not existent, and retrofitted those. Forget about taking over working factories, but now that's what we're talking about. And I'll get into why we're talking about that in a minute. Because when you don't have a job and you don't have food, where do you think you're going to fucking work and get your food? Yeah, it'll be there for everybody, but the people that work are going to have it a little bit better. So you're going to be in those factories, as now I've been talking about, what? I talked about it with James Corbett, creating medical supplies and all that. What should have been done is the National Guard should have come into each state 2 months ago, retrofitted those with tests first, real tests, done a sampling of the public voluntarily, by the way, especially in New York, of not people that were symptomatic or they hunted down, but the general populace, everybody, and then gotten those results. And then we'd have actual numbers so people aren't freaking out about the death rate. We'd have actual facts of how many people who were asymptomatic and never showed anything didn't go to the hospital. But instead we have a pandemic and we have panic and we have police state measures coming in. That's the reality. And everything he's talking about, retrofitting and taking over factories so that basically these things can be produced in a warlike effort. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not overhyping any of this. I get it if you live like in Indiana and you haven't seen this yet. I get it if you're not in the sphere of visual. But take a look at what he's telling you, because he's not off.
From running out of the supplies we need most for our hospitals. The only way those supplies can be provided in time is through the full mobilization of the United States military. At this point, there's never been a greater no-brainer in the history of the Republic. How on earth is the finest military on earth being left on the sidelines? That's what's happening right now. And I guarantee you, go interview our generals and our brave men and women who serve in the military. Go interview the average American soldier and ask them if they stand ready to get the supplies needed to New York City and the other parts of this nation that are in such danger right now. I guarantee you 201, they would tell you that is exactly why they are part of our armed forces. And they would not only await the order, they would welcome the order. But that order has not been given by our commander-in-chief. And it is beyond comprehension. It is immoral that our president has not ordered our military.
Immoral? But again, it's already foregone conclusion. The paperwork has been signed. This is WWE. You know, this is bad guy, good guy battle. Nonsense. Oh, we didn't want to send the military, but we had to send the military eventually. He should have sent the military sooner. That's to get you in an uproar. How dare he not? All right? And get the rest of the country prepared for the military to be in your lives somehow, some way. Again, global transformative event. This is what we're watching.
To full mobilization, because this is the great threat to our nation. We have armed forces overseas who are protecting us against terrorism and foreign threats. But right now we have a domestic threat on a level we have never seen in decades. Our military is the only answer at this point.
Only answer.
We expect those goods that are produced that we need for our hospitals to get there in time. There's only one organization that can guarantee that, and that is the United States military. When will President Trump give the order? That is my question. When will he give the order? Why is he hesitating? People are suffering now, and they will be suffering so much more in the month of April. And the president gives himself an A grade, and he congratulates himself, and yet he will not act in the way we need it most.
demanding the military. Remember when Cuomo wrote his opinion piece, his op-ed. Again, these are timed releases. He wants them to mobilize the military more. All right? And whatever comes to New York, again, he said it's going to come to the rest of the nation. They're preparing you for this. And if you're not paying attention, I don't know what to say. Before we get back to that, and remember, a lot of that's probably still live. We'll skip over the doctor when we get to it and go right to the questions to de Blasio. If you can support me, I need you now more than ever. You know, we'll see where all this goes. But as a lot of people know, I put every single penny I've had back into my family and back into making it sure that I'm not on the 2020 breadline. Okay? That's not for me and mine. And I hope it's not for you and yours. I hope that you have heeded my warning and you have gotten ready. Don't let people shame you because you got toilet paper and canned goods for your family or water for your family.
This is patently unacceptable. Our military also, in addition to their extraordinary logistical capacity, our military has the ability to bring exceptional medical personnel directly to where the need is greatest. Our healthcare leadership here in the city has made clear that supplies and medical equipment are a deep concern. Physical capacity to build out an extraordinary amount of new healthcare abilities and beds is crucial. But the single most important factor is personnel. We're going to need all the people I've spoken about previously to do all they can do, but they can't do it alone. In our military are extraordinary, trained professionals used to dealing with the most difficult circumstances, and yet they are at their bases right now. All over this country, they are not at the front. The front is here in New York City.
I want to stop that too. Again, for the United States of America, this is going to be the new ground zero, is New York City. And if you've already seen, the hype and fear now, you wait what it looks like in New York City. New York State not going to be a picnic. Not loving that I'm even in this state. Obviously, I think that's one of the reasons I came to the realization a little quicker than some of the other people, because I could visually see it, and I was getting leaks. I'm still getting leaks. Go to my Twitter page. I'm publishing documents you're not seeing anywhere else. Okay? And they're not fake. This isn't like some kind of weird message board plot to save you. This is bad news Brown all the way around, and you need to realize that, and you need to gear up for what's coming.
Let's be very clear. This is a different kind of war, and the